Mythical Three Kingdoms, My Branch Can Evolve Infinitely. Introduction. www.zhaozuiyuan.com. During the leadership of the Yellow Turban Rebellion, Zhang Jiao, a wise teacher from Daliang, achieved a state of unity between God and Qi, surpassed the limits of human intelligence, mastered the power of heaven and earth, and triggered a catastrophe in heaven and earth. The world's territory has expanded 100 times, natural disasters occur frequently, and generals can understand the extraordinary ability to move mountains and fill the sea, punch through mountains and rivers, and be invincible to 100,000 people. Strategist breaks through limits. Tingyun https://www.zhaozuiyuan.com. Chapter 1. Mythology of Three Kingdoms. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the spring rain is like a shuttle, moistening things yet silently. Grass and trees are merciless, and their mouths do not eat the smoke and fire of the world. The evening breeze blows a rosy glow, the bright moon rises from the eastern sky, and the layered skyscrapers light up with colorful neon lights. There are few pedestrians on the road, and stray dogs are searching for food in front of the trash can. Occasionally, a car speeding by makes a piercing roar. In an unnoticed corner, a young man ran across the road. The dim yellow streetlights stretched his shadow long. Finally caught up. Looking at the hospital ahead, the young man breathed a sigh of relief, slowed down his pace, and walked in, carrying the only 101 yuan left in his pocket. Nervously walked to the payment office. Payment, room 606, Lu Xiaoyu. Mr. Lu Xiaoan, a family member of Lu Xiaoyu, why did you come? If you're any later, we'll have to process her discharge procedures. The nurse took 100 yuan and put it in the drawer, her eyes full of blame. Lu Xiaoan's eyes drooped and he didn't speak. Xiaoyu's condition has started to worsen again. The dialysis that used to take place every 15 days now needs to be done once a week. The earlier the surgery is performed, the higher the chance of success. Delaying it like this will only worsen her condition. After the nurse collects the money, she issues a receipt. I will raise the money as soon as possible. Looking towards room 606 deep in the hospital hallway, Lu Xiaoan seemed to have seen his once sunny sister waving at him in a daze. He didn't dare to take heavy steps to visit her, just stood at the door and glanced inside before quickly running out of the hospital. Since Lu Xiaoan's sister Lu Xiaoyu was diagnosed with leukemia 3 years ago, his biological parents have suddenly disappeared. Not a single instruction was given, not a single letter was left. Abandoning the two of them in the hospital, ignoring them, was like evaporating from the human world, and no news could be found again. After the usually friendly and kind relatives found out, they not only did not receive any help, but also blocked all their contact information. In order to treat Lu Xiaoyu's illness, he sold all the valuable things in his family. From a wealthy young master who doesn't even know how to wash clothes, to one who delivers takeout every day and does odd jobs. I wish I could be a crazy worker who spends 48 hours a day, 24 hours a day. Push open the dilapidated iron gate. Lu Xiaoan returned to the rental room. He searched for this house for a long time and only needed 300 yuan per month. The house is square and square, with only one room. In the northeast corner, there is a bathroom with a glass grill and an old-fashioned wooden desk. The table is filled with various items needed for work, such as food delivery helmets, food delivery clothes, dirty clothes needed to move bricks on the construction site, and so on. There is also an old-fashioned laptop, which should be a version from more than 20 years ago. It was bought by him from the scrap station owner when he was selling scrap. Although the sparrow is small, with all its internal organs in a small room, it is its warmest resting place. I must make money as soon as possible. After closing his eyes and taking a nap, he sat up again, turned on his computer, and started reading the strategy of the Mythical Three Kingdoms game. Mythical Three Kingdoms is a recently launched realistic panoramic virtual game that received nearly 1 billion reservations as soon as it was launched. Blue stars are covered in advertisements all over the world, and the government strongly encourages citizens to enter the game. Known by many experts as the Second World, it is a fully intelligent game with no bugs, fully controlled by AI, and no one can intervene. Before the server even opened, some people started forming unions, recruiting members with high salaries, and charging high prices for copper coins and props inside. The most precious extraordinary item among them is unimaginably precious, with a price of 1 million yuan, an anonymous account, and an on-the-spot transfer. He certainly won't miss such an opportunity. I took the opportunity to join a gold mining studio, but due to lack of gaming experience, I was given a defective gaming helmet. There is no salary, and it will be determined whether the assessment meets the standards. Only after meeting the standards can one become a regular employee and receive a fixed salary. Lu Shaoan did not feel any disappointment, but instead was full of fighting spirit. As long as he can obtain an extraordinary item, Xiaoyu's illness will be hoped for. Swipe the mouse down. The opening time displayed on the game's official website is January 23, 2088 in the future era, at 8 a.m. Tomorrow morning, although it is late at night, the number of people waiting online is never less than 1 billion. It is enough to witness the popularity of games and the intense competition. However, with so many people entering the game, it will not burden the world, as the world map of the Mythical Three Kingdoms is magnified by 100 times compared to the real world. The population has increased from 50 million to 50 billion. A county's territory is comparable to a state, and a state's territory is equivalent to the size of 10 Three Kingdoms. A billion players inside cannot stir up any waves, just like a county's people. The generals, strategists, and commanders inside, after experiencing extraordinary power, possess incredible power. Generals can comprehend the extraordinary ability to move mountains and fill the sea, and break through mountains and rivers with their fists, which cannot be defeated by 100,000 people. The strategist breaks through his limits, rides in the clouds and mist, speaks with ease, and waves his hand to summon wind and rain. The commander. Chief sows beans to become a soldier, and the Vajra is not bad. In a fit of anger, millions of dragon cavalry set foot in Chang'an. Among them, there are various extraordinary props. If it is said that the national jade seal suppresses the dragon veins in the 9 provinces, holding it can lead to the retreat of evil spirits and prevent any invasion. The Taiping scripture rewrites the rules of the world, forging a land exclusively belonging to the yellow turban, and bringing the dead back to life. Of course, this kind of artifact is impossible for him to obtain, he can only have a satisfying look. What he wants most are props such as mustard space, moving runes, a good horse that awakens extraordinary power. A larger quantity makes it easier to obtain. I don't know how long it has been, but a hurried phone call rang. Lu Shaoan woke up from his sleep, and after reading the guide for too long yesterday, he fell asleep on the table. The person on the phone is Qin Keqing, the team leader in charge of him. The server will start in 10 minutes. Now put on the game helmet and prepare some, and we will be born together in Bingzhou. If the distance is not far, we can develop together. If the distance is too far, we can wait until the territory develops in the future. Lu Xiaoan glanced at the time in the bottom right corner of the computer and it was already 7:50. Take out a black password box from under the bed, which contains a white gaming helmet. The shape is similar to a motorcycle helmet, and the top of the head is engraved with 2 black characters, myth. On zhaoshuyuan.com there are some wires glued with transparent tape at the ear position of the helmet. Shouldn't be a problem, right? Here he can't care too much, he can't earn enough medical expenses in a short period of time. After years of hard work, his body has long been in deficit. At present, entering the game has become his only choice. Immediately, put on the helmet. A whirl of heaven and earth. Subtitles appeared in front of Lu Shaoan. In 184 AD, Zhang Jiao, a Taoist from Taiping, led the Yellow Turban Uprising and shouted the slogan, "The heavens are dead, the yellow sky should stand." At the age of Jia Zi, the world is in good fortune. The world follows like clouds. The court dispatched General Liu Ji from the north, General Huang Fu Song from the left, and General Zhu Gui from the right to conquer. The yellow scarf could not resist, and they retreated step by step. But at this moment, Zhang Jiao did not want to break through the limits of heaven and humanity by comprehending the Taiping scripture, achieving a state of unity between God and Qi, wielding the thunder power of heaven and earth, and triggering the catastrophe of the end world. The world's territory has expanded 100 times, the population has surged 1,000 times, natural disasters have occurred frequently, and the people are struggling to make a living. In just 5 years, mountain bandits such as the White Wave Army, Black Mountain Army, Huanglong, King Niujio, Zhang Baiqi, Lei Gong, Fuyun, and Baikei rose up in response to the call of General Zhang Jiao. The number of thieves can range from tens of millions to hundreds of millions. The Emperor of Han could no longer control all of his territory, so he summoned his father Zhang Rang, recruited people from outside the region, and recruited troops and horses to fight against the bandit Zhang Jiao. The time slowly arrived at 8:00 sharp. The subtitles in front of me suddenly turned red and trembled, sweeping across the entire world. When he regained consciousness and woke up, it was already another world. Chapter 2. Entering the game. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the vast and boundless blue sky, with no clouds for thousands of miles. A gentle breeze brushes through the mountains and forests, and thousands of trees are leaning against each other. Entering the game is like entering another world, a valley without the smell of fireworks. The air in the valley is clear, with insects, birds, and beasts chirping, without any haze. There are 10 farmers in front of them, with yellow faces and thin muscles, slender figures, and wearing coarse linen clothes. There is a very simple thatched reed behind me, which contains enough food for about 10 people to eat for 3 days, as well as 5 rusty axes. There is a golden light shield on the thatched cottage, with several large golden characters written on it. Novice Protection, Countdown 29 days 23.59. Each player will have these at the beginning, 10 initial farmers, and 30 days of novice protection. Within these 30 days, the territory will not be attacked by other forces. In 30 days, there will be the first wave of attack by the Yellow Turban. If not blocked, the random territory will have to start over. An old neighborhood chief walked out of the farmer's house and led everyone to bow to Lu Shaoan from a distance. Your Excellency must be the new neighborhood chief assigned by the court. Old Han Ongwa has seen the neighborhood chief. Lao Li Chang, please pick me up quickly. We are all doing things for the villagers, so why be so polite? Raise everyone up. Lu Shaoan began to check everyone's attributes, and most of them were ordinary people with F+ qualifications, without any talent. Only the old village chief and Li Erzwang are considered acceptable, one for internal affairs and one for military commanders. Han Ongwa, qualification C, Force 5, Physical Fitness 4, Intelligence 9, Command 7 Talent. Inspiration, increases efficiency of farmers under your command by 20%. Li Erzwang, qualification B, Force 10, Physical Fitness 8, Intelligence 2, Command 3 Talent. Brute Force. After entering the battle, the force value increases by 10 points. Regarding the village matter, it is still troublesome for Mr. Han to continue to put in effort, leading 4 farmers to build houses, fences, and cultivate wasteland. Li Erzwang led the remaining people to survey the surrounding area and search for some wood and stones as weapons. Lu Shaoan left all the agricultural tools for Han Ongwa, while he found a wooden stick, smashed some sharp stones into the wood, and then tied it tightly with vines. Pick it up and show it to Li Erzwang and others. Just make the weapon like this, I'll lead you to hunt later. Why did the Lord make it like this? Li Erzwang rubbed his head and chuckled foolishly. This is to bleed the beasts. With these sharp stones, the wooden stick is no worse than an axe. Native Americans once used obsidian embedded in wooden sticks to establish their own civilization on the desolate American continent. This blunt bloodletting method was quite domineering during the Stone Age. At this time, Lu Shaoan's territory was lacking weapons, so we will temporarily use this method to replace it. Master Ming, I'm going now. Li Erzwang understood everything, and his eyes were filled with admiration. The new neighborhood chief knew so much, so there was no need to go hungry now. The farmers were busy with their respective duties. Lu Shaoan finally has time to check his own attributes. Lu Shaoan, Qualification C Force 5, Physical Fitness 4, Intelligence 8, Command 10 Talent. Loves soldiers like children, increases soldier attributes by 10%, and increases soldier strategy effects by 10% evolutionary point. 1. His attributes were average, just the final point of evolution, which left him stunned. What is this thing? There is a plus sign behind the evolution point. He tried clicking on it. A row of avatars appeared in front of him, including those of the farmers he had just arranged for work, including Han Ongua and Li Erzwang. Click on the portrait of Li Erzwang. Ah! Li Erzwang, who was searching for a wooden stick, let out a roar. He suddenly grew scales and armor on his body, and a 3-zhang-long spear appeared in his hand. His body kept expanding, and he was 6 feet tall, even growing to over 10 feet. A red giant dragon, about 5 zhang long, with a fat waist and thick legs, appeared under the crotch and roared in the sky. Ow! The farmers were frightened by the scene before them and hid in the grass reeds. What is this? Dragon cavalry. Lu Shaoan looked at the scene in front of him with suspicion, and the evolution point 1 on the panel had turned into 0. Can an evolution point allow an ordinary farmer to evolve into the top-tier army of dragon cavalry? He was overjoyed in his heart. If that's the case, it would be even easier to obtain extraordinary items. A normal general who wants to advance his troops into dragon cavalry requires extremely strict conditions, and he only needs a farmer and an evolution point. He vaguely felt that the dragon cavalry was just his first-level unit, and there were even more powerful units ahead, but they needed to meet certain conditions to unlock. Master, how did I become like this? Li Erzwang rode a giant dragon with a mournful expression and walked up to him. Lu Shaoan couldn't help but feel amused. This is a dragon cavalry. How many people dream of becoming a presence? Riding a giant dragon under their crotch is so majestic. Surprisingly, it still looks like this. It's truly a blessing in disguise. There was also a strong envy hidden in his eyes, not knowing whether the dragon would allow him to ride. This is a gift from God, only rewarding my bravest warrior, Zhuang. From today on, you will be the bravest warrior in our Shenlong village. Shenlong village is the name he just named. His village only has a thatched reed and there is no place to even write the name. Now that there is a dragon knight, it is not too much to call it Shenlong village, as it can also enhance the pride of the villagers. Li Erzwang doesn't know when the village turned into Shenlong village. But listening to Lu Shaoan's tone, I understand that this is a reward given to him by Lu Shaoan. Jump off the flying dragon and kneel on both knees. Li Erzwang thanks the Lord for his reward, and I will definitely repay you well. We are villagers of Shenlong village, so imposing. Other villagers couldn't help but sigh. Lu Shaoan took advantage of the hot iron and drew delicious pancakes for the villagers one by one. Although Shenlong village has just been established, but I believe that as long as everyone works hard and unites, we may not be able to become Shenlong town and Shenlong city in the future. There is more than one dragon knight, and there won't be only one. As long as everyone follows me, there will be bread, and even milk can be found on the book garden. www.zhaoshuyuan.com. The Lord is mighty. Old neighborhood chief Han Ongua knelt on the ground with everyone and kowtowed devoutly. At this moment, Lu Shaoan was their savior. 2/4 of an hour later. The militia finally made the wooden stick, and Li Erzwang returned riding a giant dragon. Report to the Lord. After observing for half a day, I found that Shenlong village is surrounded by mountains on all sides and there are 2 canyons for walking. There is a stream passing by in the north, and there are so many fish that they can jump out. We no longer have to worry about food. Lu Shaoan listened to Li Erzwang's words and drew a sketch on the ground. After seeing the terrain near Shinsuan, I couldn't help but feel secretly happy. It's really a good place, with mountains and water. As long as you hold on to 2 canyons, you can hold on to the fertile fields in the valley for thousands of miles. It's a land of abundance comparable to Izhou. Shinruan is located in a valley within the Black Mountains due to the expansion of the terrain. The Black Mountain, which was originally over 200 feet high and about 100 miles long, has transformed into a magnificent mountain range that stretches for thousands of miles. The valley where Shinruan is located is no smaller than Izhou in history. However, due to the numerous bandits in Black Mountain, the famous Black Mountain Army was also among them. Although the geographical location is good, we still cannot be careless. He looked cautiously at Li Erzwang and said, "What is the distribution of surrounding forces?" Li Erzwang explained, "To the east of Heishan is the territory of the Heishan Army, with a large number of people who rarely visit the Shenlong Canyon. Most of them go to Jizhou County to take advantage of the fire and rob. To the west is the place where Zhangbai rode, and there are also many bandits who often go to Bingzhou. To the north is the territory of the bandit Lei Gong, with fewer people, while to the south is the territory of the Floating Clouds, with more people. All of them are mountain bandits." Chapter 3. Evolutionary Point Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. After listening to Li Erzwang's words, Lu Shaoan's heart felt like a basin of cold water had been poured. Good guy, this is surrounded by bandits. No wonder its geographical location is so superior, but it is still sparsely populated. I dare say this is the stronghold of bandits. But on second thought, this is a game. Isn't Mountain Thief just an experienced monster? So many monsters, I should be happy. He nodded and then reported the current situation to the team leader Qin Keqing to see how she arranged it. Qin Keqing frowned and said, "The bandits' den is really difficult to handle. Most of us are in Shandong County, surrounded by Hu people and bandits. It's hard to come and help you. You try your best to protect Shenlong village, but you may not be able to make some progress in the future." Team leader, do you think my geographical location is so good? Can I become a full-time employee? The owner of Tinglong Studio is a nouveau riche from Jinling, who owns a coal mine and is very wealthy. Lu Shaoan has always hoped for a stable and reliable job to support him in continuing to maintain Lu Xiaoyu's treatment expenses. I will mention it to the higher-ups. Hurry up and surround the lonely mountain bandits recently, earn more copper coins, and behave well. Do you understand? I understand, team leader. I'll go clean up the mountain bandits now. The game has just opened, and the big shots are very short of money. The ratio of copper coins to cash is even as high as 1.10. A dozen or so copper coins a day is enough for him to work in reality for a whole day. The ratio of time to reality in the game is 1.10, which means he can earn money in a day that was originally only possible in 10 days. It's unimaginable to receive more copper coins every day. Of course, the exchange price for the studio is relatively low, only 1.5. For the sake of stable salary, 5 insurances and 1 fund in the future, it is not unacceptable. Lu Shaoan, who was in a good mood, went downstairs to buy some mantou. Seeing that his sister's illness was promising, his appetite increased greatly and he ate 3 big mantou. I also made a phone call to my sister when I had time. How have you been lately? Don't worry about money. Your brother and I have come up with an opportunity to make big money, which will definitely cure you. It's not like robbing a bank, right? You'd better be careful. The limelight has been tight lately, and this job is not easy to do. Lu Xiaoyu's voice was clear, indicating that he was in a good mood today. Lu Shaoan also joked with him tacitly, "Don't worry, there's someone above me, you can rest assured that it's just flowers. Is there anyone who can protect you? You really don't want to rob the bank, do you?" Lu Xiaoyu's tone was full of concern when she heard this. She was just joking just now, but she really didn't want Lu Xiaoan to really rob the bank. Lu Xiaoan's tone remained unchanged. Of course, your brother and I have been practicing martial arts recently, and one can fight 10. Don't worry, I can definitely grab it. At first, Lu Xiaoyu listened very attentively, but as he listened more and more, things didn't go right. He just chuckled and moaned, "You really can make up." After making a joke, she couldn't help but care about Lu Xiaoan's health, and she also knew the conditions at home. The daily hospitalization expenses, monthly dialysis, examination, and medication are not a small amount. Her brother has just turned 18, how can he withstand such heavy pressure? Brother, I don't want to treat it anymore. The treatment is also very painful, and I don't want to continue wasting money. You don't need to worry about money, I will find a way. I am now a regular employee of Tinglong Studio, earning an annual salary of 1 million yuan. I enjoy a lot of money every day, and I don't need your little money. Lu Xiaoan's voice was cheerful, without any feeling of worry about money, but instead he gradually became confident. Since their parents abandoned them, their relatives regarded them as fierce beasts, and their only sister Lu Xiaoyu was the last ray of dawn in his life. If even she were lost, the world behind would be unimaginable. Lu Xiaoyu was amused by him. Lu Xiaoan only has her as a relative, so why is she not? Brother, you're really amazing. After calming Lu Xiaoyu. Then enter the game again. He was filled with eagerness to obtain extraordinary items as soon as possible. Lu Xiaoan, who possesses the ability to evolve his troops, is destined to remain unknown, but it is currently unknown how to obtain his evolutionary points. On the quiet mountain path. 2 mountain bandits holding machetes are leaning under the tree chatting. It seems like there's no oil or water left today. We were unlucky enough to be assigned to this place where birds don't poop. There's not even a single person in 100 miles radius. If there's no harvest today, I'm afraid I'll be hungry again. A bandit's ear twitched. Someone has arrived. They jumped into the grass without saying a word, ready to welcome the upcoming fat sheep. Lu Xiaoan led a large army to clean up the wild animals and mountain bandits around the village. Along the way, we harvested 10 wild wolves, 1 wild boar, and 3 wild chickens. I also encountered a few mountain bandits, but they were too smart. When they saw the giant dragon under Li Erzwang's crotch, they didn't dare to rob and were scared away. He was quite helpless and said, "The game is too realistic and not good. Can't a little wild monster obediently let the player play it? We must run around recklessly." He also sent Li Erzwang to chase after him, but the giant dragon was too big to keep up with the bandits in the dense mountains and forests. Helpless, he could only turn himself into bait and take the initiative to fish, to see if he could encounter a few inconspicuous mountain bandits. He led a farmer with only 1 wooden stick in his 4 hands, swaggering down the mountain path, dressed in rags and carrying the prey he had just hunted. Looking at the bright sunshine, he couldn't help but sigh, "I've had a good harvest today. After we go back, we can have a full meal. The Lord is majestic." Thinking of the delicious food that was about to come to their mouths, they went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and took a bite of the oily flour in their mouth. The militiamen were very happy, carrying their abundant prey without feeling heavy at all. "Stop, rob, hand over all the prey." The hungry mountain bandit, who had been hungry for a long time, couldn't bear to see such a plump prey anymore and jumped out of the grass in a disastrous way. They held rusty machetes in their hands, dressed in tattered linen clothes, with an extremely fierce appearance and murderous eyes. They knew at a glance that they had killed many people. The only regret is that the number of people is too small, only 2 people dare to rob 5 of them. I really don't take him seriously. Lu Xiaoan's eyes were filled with disappointment. He raised the wooden stick in his hand and asked, "Don't you have any other helpers? Why do you need other helpers to kill you? The mountain bandits unconsciously waved their machetes and wanted to demonstrate. The next moment, he was bitten to death by a giant dragon that suddenly appeared behind him. Monster! Another mountain bandit was frightened and fled backwards in a panic. It's insulting not to shout for help. Lu Shaoan lifted the wooden stick horizontally and hit it against his head. The wooden stick, embedded with sharp stones, had an attack power that could not be underestimated. With just one hit, a big lump was thrown out of the bandit's head, and blood flowed down his ears. The bandit lay on the ground, covering the wound on his head and still speaking harshly. I am from Jiulong Stronghold. If you dare to kill me, the leader will definitely not let you go. Those who are sensible should let me go, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. Sorry, I just want to kill you now. Let's talk about it later. Lu Shaoan raised his wooden stick and was about to strike the mountain bandit when he suddenly froze in place. Chapter 4. Flowing Private Drawings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, don't run at this moment, wait for when. The mountain bandit had already been blinded by Lu Shaoan. Seeing such a good opportunity, I don't know why they let him go and ran towards the mountains and forests in a panic. Quickly disappeared without a trace. Li Erzwang quickly caught up and was very puzzled, why did the Lord let him leave? Lu Shaoan smiled but remained silent, as he finally triggered the task of rewarding evolution points. Trigger the mission to rescue Kai Wenji, who went to Luoyang to seek refuge with her relatives. Kai Wenji was kidnapped by bandit Wang Ren on the way and is about to become the lady of the fortress. Find their lair and rescue Kai Wenji. Reward 10 evolution points for successful mission. The acquisition of evolution points was not achieved by killing mountain bandits, but through missions. No wonder there was no reward for evolution points when killing the first bandit. After understanding everything, Lu Shaoan looked towards the direction where the mountain bandits were fleeing. The task was triggered by these two bandits, so Wang Ren must have no connection with them, and even those two bandits are likely Wang Ren's people. I haven't heard of it in Wang Ren's history book, so it shouldn't be considered a too big mountain bandit. If there are not many of them, they may not be able to uproot themselves, and perhaps they can also earn a large amount of copper coins as a result, which will be equivalent to overnight wealth. Sister Lu Xiaoyu's medical expenses also have hope. He looked at Li Erzwang and said, the bandits' lair should not be far from here. Follow the fleeing bandits and see where their lair is. If possible, we can take his lair. Li Erzwang finally realized that the reason why Luan let the bandits go was not because he was daydreaming, but because he deliberately did it, in order to find the bandits' lair and catch them all. His admiration in his heart was indescribable, and he exclaimed, Your Highness is truly a divine being. I will never question you again. Without hesitation, he rode a giant dragon and flew away. Lu Shaoan was touching the body on the ground and found a copper coin, a simple blueprint of a private enterprise, and a mountain bandit machete. A blueprint from a private enterprise in the market has been sold for 500 yuan and 1,000 yuan in cash. It can refresh 10 refugees every day, and most importantly, every territory. There is no limit to the quantity of such buildings. If you have money and food, you can build 1,000 private enterprises and attract 10,000 people every day. For players, whether in the early, middle, or late stages, they are all very important. This trip of bandits was worth killing. Take advantage of Li Erzwang's time to search for the bandits' lair. Lu Shaoan returned to his territory with the farmer carrying the newly captured prey. At this time, the Shenlong village was very different from the first appearance. A thatched cottage with a wooden structure rises from the ground, with neatly arranged adobe next to it. A relatively clean-looking young man commands busy civilians, planning village buildings, material stacking, and so on. The farmer was far more than just a few people when he left. At first glance, there were at least dozens of people working. This has doubled several times. He looked at Han Ongwa with suspicion and said, what's going on? To report to the Lord, these people are also homeless refugees. Seeing us building houses, they also want to join us. Han Angua smiled and introduced these new refugees to Lu Shaoan, consisting of 25 men, women, elderly, and children. The refugees showed fear and lowered their heads, afraid that Lu Shaoan would drive them away. They have heard that this village has dragons, so there is no need to fear mountain bandits. One of the young people couldn't help but stand up. Masterly, we don't have any illnesses on us, and we also have some skills. These adobe bricks are all designed by us. As long as you accept us, we will definitely build the world's greatest city for you. Luan looked at the youth. Wei Zigu, qualification B Force 15, physical fitness 10, intelligence 12, command 11 talent. A master architect who builds buildings that increase public sentiment by 10% and increase work efficiency by 10%. A talent with very balanced attributes can be competent, whether it is a military general or a civil servant in the domestic affairs. Han Angua also helped to speak. They are all very kind people. Our village happens to be short of manpower, so I asked them to come and help. Otherwise, these thatched cottages cannot be built so quickly by just a few of us. With the addition of all the talents, Shenlong village will definitely become even stronger. Lu Shaoan couldn't even be happy in time, so how could he dislike it, and readily agreed. He also handed over the prey he had just caught to Han Angua, asking him to find a few women to handle it and have a big dinner together in the evening. The refugees were extremely excited. They hadn't had enough to eat for a long time, and they didn't expect to be able to enjoy such delicious food just after joining the village. Everyone waved their arms and shouted, "Your Majesty is mighty." One night passed. Li Erzwang has not returned yet. The villagers ate half of the wild boar last night, and the rest was hung in the village and dried to make cured meat, which was kept for future consumption. It's already great to have a full meal in this era. How could it be possible to eat meat every day? Han Angua stipulates that each person and household can receive cured meat according to their contributions, and more work, more pay. The same goes for wild wolf meat, while wild chickens are kept in cages by villagers and tamed into poultry. So far, Lu Shaoan has another complete pig skin in his hand. Han Angua suggested sewing several pieces of leather armor from this pig skin to prevent cold and resist some attacks by visiting Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Boar skin is quite sturdy, and ordinary weapons cannot damage its fur when cut on it. If it weren't for the Dragon Knight, he might not have been able to capture this prey. However, he is currently short of money, and what he needs most is to exchange some things for some cash to pay for his sister Lu Xiaoyu's hospitalization expenses. He is considering whether to sell wild boar skins or sell private blueprints. Han Angua suggested, if the Lord is really short of money, why not exchange the blueprint? That's the population. Lu Shaoan felt quite reluctant. Han Angua said, every day in our village, refugees come to our village, and our food reserves are only enough for a few days. If the protagonist doesn't catch any prey in a day, we may end up in a food shortage for a long time. At that time, the refugee camp will no longer be a population for us, but a lifeline. Yeah, sometimes having more people is not necessarily a good thing. Not having enough food can actually cause even greater disasters. Lu Shaoan will upload private drawings to the trading hall amidst thatched reeds, with a starting price of 500 copper coins. Players should not be too shocked to see this blueprint. Just 2 days after the game was launched, someone had already printed out the blueprint for the private market. And it also needs to be sold. It's not too simple. You should know that most of them haven't even explored the map around their territory, and now some people are starting to explore monsters, which is difficult not to cause a sensation. I'm out of 501, I'll pay 600, I will issue 601. The price skyrocketed all the way, but was eventually bought by a big shot. Lying down, 1,000 copper coins, 10,000 yuan, who is so generous? Chapter 5. Clearing the Thief's Nest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, after buying it all at once, Shenhao Longting still shouted in the world chat group. High-priced collection of various blueprints, weapons, provisions, interested parties can contact Penguin ******. So he's the big shot of Longting, no wonder. Worship the big shot. Dragon Tang is so handsome, I want to give you a monkey. As the protagonist of the matter, Lu Shaoan was very happy. He thought he was asking too high a price, afraid that others wouldn't buy it. The result was instantly delayed. It's really an unexpected wealth. It seems we can drive higher next time. I secretly thought to myself. After deducting 5% commission from the trading hall, send the remaining 950 copper coins to his email. He turned around and found the team leader Qin Keqing with these copper coins. I want to exchange it for cash. Where did you get so many copper coins? Qin Keqing's eyes lit up. You sold the blueprint. Yeah, what's wrong? Qin Keqing said. The one we bought is our boss, Qin Keqing replied softly. Lu Shaoan sighed. It seemed that this time he had no chance of becoming a regular employee. He was about to withdraw the copper coins and sell them elsewhere. Qin Keqing accepted the copper coins and directly sent 9,500 yuan to his account. Congratulations on becoming a regular. The exchange price will be the same as outside in the future. If you sign the contract, both electronic and paper versions are acceptable, with a monthly salary of 8,000 and coverage of 5 insurances and 1 fund. The only requirement the company has for you is to prioritize the company with rare props. The company's quoted price will not be lower than outside, and there will also be bonuses. At the end, she pretended to be very aggressive and sent a picture of punching in the chat bar. I don't want this kind of thing to happen again. This kind of contract is certainly not something that an amateur player can sign, because the blueprints of the private market are so precious that Qin Keqing made an exception and provided the contract signed for Gao Wan to him. Don't worry, leader. I will definitely sell to the company first next time. The treatment provided by Longting Studio is very superior, with no mandatory conditions and a fixed salary to receive. This kind of work is something that fools wouldn't do. Sign the contract. Lu Shaoan suddenly thought of how big companies seem to be able to advance salaries. Thinking about his sister in the hospital bed, what's the point of having a shameless face? Leader, I've been a bit short of money lately. My sister's sick. Can you think of an advance for a few months' salary? Qin Keqing was very reluctant, but he still advanced 2 months of salary to him. It's truly a big company with plenty of benefits. Lu Shaoan looked at the extra 20,000 yuan in his bank card account and felt very happy. He turned around and transferred all the money to the attending doctor's account. After receiving the money, the attending doctor replied, "This money can allow Xiaoyu to undergo some examinations first to prepare for the surgery 1 month later. It is estimated that she can get out of bed after the surgery. You must raise another sum of money as soon as possible, and the exact amount will depend on the severity of Xiaoyu's illness." I'm poor again. Lu Shaoan smiled bitterly and shook his head. However, the thought of his lively and cheerful sister Lu Xiaoyu getting up soon made his mood relaxed again. It seems like seeing the warm scene of Lu Xiaoyu seeing the sunshine, with a bright smile on his face. End the call. He extravagantly ordered a pig's foot meal and took advantage of this time to rest for a while. In reality, it's already 8 p.m., and it's expected that we can still play for 1 to 2 hours after dinner. We should strive to end the conquest of mountain bandits within this time. The delivery man was very slow in efficiency and waited for a full hour and a half before delivering the food to his door. After opening the door, he quickly apologized and offered an apology. "I'm sorry, brother. The company has been short of people lately, so we've all gone to play games. There are too many orders and it's too late. The merchants' pots have all been fried and 3 have been damaged, so we can't keep up with it. There are too many players in the game Mythical Three Kingdoms. Some people have made a lot of money from it, and many restaurant owners and delivery drivers have joined when they hear the news. There are more people ordering takeout, but fewer people delivering takeout, making it difficult to get takeout. After dinner, Lu Shaoan put on his gaming helmet and entered the game again. Li Erzwang has returned and hasn't drunk water yet. He quickly walked up to Lu Shaoan and reported the situation. My lord's prediction is good. The bandits' lair is not far from us. Last time they flew too high and didn't see clearly. They are just to the east of us, only 20 miles away from Shenlong village, and can be reached by walking for 5 hours. Lu Shaoan frowned, realizing that there was a bandit's lair so close that it could easily threaten the daily production of the territory. However, for now, the main focus is on completing tasks, and with enough evolution points, one can obtain more Dragon Knights. The power of the Dragon Knights is too powerful. Ordinary mountain bandit forces are not opponents at all. As long as they do not have extraordinary power or other extraordinary items, their attacks do not even qualify to break through the dragon scales. Let's go and meet them. Lu Shaoan led 15 expanded militia members to advance towards the bandits' den, while the remaining 17 farmers continued to build their territories under the leadership of Han Ongua and Wei Gu. Before leaving, Han Ongua sent 3 leather armor pieces that had just been sewn up. The mountain bandits are fierce, my lord, why don't you put on the armor and go fight against them? Lu Shaoan is the backbone of Shenlong village. When Han Ongua knew they were about to go to the battlefield to besiege the mountain bandits, he quickly asked the farmers to work overtime and sew armor together, fearing any damage to him. Han, rest assured that this battle will be won. Accept the leather armor, and Lu Shaoan will distribute 1 piece to Han Ongua, 1 piece to Wei Zigu, and 1 piece to put on himself. Li Erzwang has scaly armor and a layer of silver armor on the outside, so he doesn't need this level of leather armor. Han Ongua originally intended to decline. Lu Shaoan said again, I will lead a large army to go out for military training, and Han Lao should also organize the villagers well to prevent the ambush of wild beasts and mountain bandits. The farmer sat on the flying dragon and drove towards the bandits' den, their faces uneasy, both shocked and frightened. Shocked, there are really dragons in Shenlong village, and they even sat on it. What is alarming is that they are about to fight several times more mountain bandits than they are. This is not just for fun, they are all thugs who kill without blinking an eye and eat people without putting salt. How did they deal with the farmers who have lowered their heads and faced the sky with yellow soil all their lives? Lu Shaoan saw the nervousness of the militia and stood on the back of the giant dragon at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, with his hands down. Some mountain bandits, we have dragon cavalry, so there's no need to be afraid. Everything belongs to me, he said. The militiamen are still afraid. They are often killed by mountain bandits, and their fear has penetrated into their bones. Even before they see the bandits, they are trembling with fear. Li Erzwang shouted, have you forgotten my lord's ability? He is a fierce person who can summon dragons. Show yourself well, and in the future, you can also become dragon cavalry like me. Li Erzwang's words greatly inspired the militia. Lu Shaoan is a fierce person who can summon dragons. Even if the mountain bandits are powerful, they can still deal with dragons. If the protagonist gets angry and summons more dragons in a fit of anger, what if there are more mountain bandits? For a moment, the morale of the militia surged. The Lord is majestic. Lu Shaoan rolled his eyes and realized that he certainly doesn't have enough evolutionary points to evolve the dragon cavalry right now. If they insist on thinking this way, it's not impossible because they will soon gain more evolutionary points. Jiulong village, with beautiful mountains and waters, is located on the edge of the Grand Canyon to the east of Heishan Mountain, on an unnamed mountain peak. The village is not big, with over 1,000 people, including the elderly and weak. There are about 800 middle-aged men who can go out and rob seriously. In Montenegro, it is a very small force that always acts on the face of the bandits. Leader Wang Ren fell in love at first sight since he accidentally intercepted Kai Wenji a few days ago. Looking at the rural elderly woman next to her, she suddenly felt disgusted and decided to divorce her wife on the spot to marry Kai Wenji. Unfortunately, Kai Wenji refused to comply to the death. What's the way to get her heart? The second in command suggested, the eldest in command is willing to marry her, this is her blessing, why should she agree? Chapter 6. Rescuing Kai Wenji. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, bastard. Wang Ren angrily patted the table and said, Kai Wenji is a lady from a wealthy family. How can she be like us lackeys? Not to mention her Hu Jia 18 beats, her knowledge alone is enough to elevate the power of our Jilong stronghold to another level, and we cannot be strong. Kai Wenji's Hu Jia 18 beats were quite fierce, blocking them from 800 mountain bandits for 3 days and 3 nights alone. No matter what methods they use, they cannot deal with it. If it weren't for her maid being seriously injured and needing treatment, they wouldn't have captured her either. Report. Li Erzwang, a villager from Shinsuan village, came to challenge the leader. Lu Shaoan and the others finally flew over the bandits' nest, hovering for a few minutes before making a decision. Li Erzwang, Wei Zigu, and others called out in front of the bandits, dragging the main force of the bandits. He rode a giant dragon and rushed into the bandits' den, completing the task first to rescue Kai Wenji. After he rescues Kai Wenji, he can evolve 10 dragon cavalry, so there will be no worries at that time. Master, rest assured that I will definitely hold back the main force of the mountain bandits. Li Erzwang arched his hand. Lu Shaoan's eyes were filled with worry. Li Erzwang was naturally honest and easy to fall into the trap set by the bandits. He patted Li Erzwang's shoulder and strongly advised him, if something cannot be done, retreat immediately, safety first. Li Erzwang, qualification A Force 20, Physical Fitness 25, Intelligence 15, Command 10 Talent. Dragon Power. After entering the battle, the force value increases by 20 points. Don't worry, my lord. I will definitely defeat the mountain bandits. Li Erzwang is not afraid of tigers at the beginning of his career, and he is full of dragon power and dares to surpass the sky. With the bloodline of a divine dragon, he is looking for an opportunity to showcase his skills. Now that he has the opportunity, he will not let it go. Lu Shaoan nodded and rode a giant dragon into the clouds. As soon as Li Erzwang and his group arrived at the entrance of the bandits, they shouted to the gatekeepers, I am Li Erzwang from Shenlong village. Hurry up and ask Wang Ren to come out and die. My big sword is already starving and thirsty. The bandits laughed heartily and then saw a blood-stained spear piercing through his chest. The bandits ran back in fear to report the news. Wang Ren, the leader of the bearded bandits, walked out of the village with hundreds of strong and fierce-looking bandits. He was wearing a tiger skin coat, holding a straight-edge mountain knife, dragging it along and stepping out. Who is Li Erzwang? The fear of mountain bandits is deeply imprinted in the hearts of farmers, who hold their breath and dare not breathe. Li Erzwang was one zhang long, covered in red scales and armor. His silver spear was heavily thrust into the ground. I am Li Erzwang, are you Wang Ren? The bandit leader, seeing Li Erzwang's fierce appearance, immediately felt a little timid. He looked at the militia behind Li Erzwang and his eyes lit up. Li Erzwang was difficult to deal with, but the refugees were different. If he could kill a few refugees and boost his morale, he might win without fighting. He charged straight towards Li Erzwang and said, go to hell. Li Erzwang followed Lu Shaoan's teachings and dared not be careless. He swept out with a silver gun in hand. Bang! The two collided, and a violent distance sent Wang Ren flying out, spitting out a mouthful of blood, while Li Erzwang was unharmed. With just one strike, Wang Ren felt the terror of Li Erzwang. This is not a human at all, but a giant dragon. Li Erzwang is relentless when he is in power. When he mentions the silver spear, the pear blossom bursts out like a rainstorm. Wang Renqi knew that his strength was invincible, and he fought and retreated at the same time. However, at a critical moment, he charged sideways towards the militia and killed a farmer closest to him with a knife. Hot blood splattered onto the faces of Li Erzwang and others. The companions who were just jumping and laughing together instantly became corpses. Ah man! Li Erzwang hugged the body and burst into tears. Chen Aman, who was also a member of the 5 militiamen yesterday, spent countless days and nights with him, eating and sleeping together, and sharing food and food. In the days without Lu Shaoan, they relied on each other for survival, but now they have died of their own cowardice. He felt a strong sense of self-blame and immense anger in his heart. The militia felt a sense of sadness as the rabbits and foxes died. If it weren't for the confidence given to them by the dragon ridden by Lu Shaoan, they would have knelt down and surrendered long ago. When the bandit leader Wang Ren saw this scene, he not only felt no guilt, but also laughed heartily. If you want to kill me, you are still a little too young. This is called, never tire of deceit. He swung his long sword and was about to commit another crime, this time targeting Li Erzwang who was kneeling and crying. Bang! The long sword touched the dragon's scales and let out a mournful cry. Wang Ren was shocked for a moment before seeing Li Erzwang lift his angry eyes. I want to kill all of you. Li Erzwang was like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, with bulging muscles all over his body. At a height of 1 foot, he was like a giant, picking up a silver spear and shooting at Wang Ren. Wang Ren parried twice and was shocked by the terrifying force, causing him to retreat in succession. Knowing that he was invincible, he waved his hand and summoned his subordinates. No matter how powerful he is, there is only one person. Kill them all for me. Wei Zigu also took the opportunity to stand up and organize the militia to resist the charge of the mountain bandits. Don't worry, fight, I'll defend, he said. Both sides are embroiled in an anxious battle. In the Shanzhai, Kai Wenji is taking a shower, without any trace on her body. Her graceful figure is hidden in the mist, and the fragrance of the woman's body drifts towards the distance through the crack in the door. After smelling it, the second leader of the mountain bandits who passed by couldn't help but lie outside the door and stick to the crack of the door to peek at this beautiful scene. A trickle of water flowed through Kai Wenji's fair and milky skin, and his unintentional profile on the Book Garden website www.zhaozhuyuan.com sparked a constant surge of desire in his heart. He could no longer control the dirt under his crotch and pushed open the door to walk inside. Allowing such a beautiful woman to stay alone in an empty house is a waste of money for the wealthy family. I won't pity you like him. Even if you die, I will still ignore it. If I have to blame you, I'll just blame you for being too beautiful. Hee, young lady, I'm here. He rubbed his hands and walked quietly towards the unprepared Kai Wenji with a lewd smile. The mountain bandit, who was already licking blood on the tip of his knife, could not have controlled these things. At this moment, he no longer remembered the leader's advice, and his claws reached out to the delicate creature in front of him that could squeeze water. Ow! The red giant dragon fell into the mountain fortress, spewing out a scorching flame with its ferocious mouth, and the bandits passing by were invincible. The mountain bandits howled and ran around, shouting loudly for the leader and the second leader. But their leader and second in command are all busy with their own affairs, unable to escape, and it is impossible to save them. Some people were burned to death by the flames, while others attempted to strike the dragon with machetes. The iron knife struck on the scales and armor of the dragon, without even leaving a white mark. The bandit didn't believe in evil and vigorously swung and slashed. He looked up and saw a suffocating scene. The towering dragon stared at him with blood-red eyes, and before he could react, he swallowed it in one gulp. Monster, help me! The other bandits collapsed and completely gave up fighting against the dragon. Lu Shaoan jumped off the giant dragon, holding a large wooden stick and harvesting the heads of the bandits one by one. After killing the bandits in the square, he didn't forget to ask for the specific location of Wenji. Where is Wenji? Chapter 7. Sun Tzu's Art of War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the bandit pointed towards a room in terror, and his voice trembled as he said, "We were also forced. Don't kill me, I surrendered." He was greeted by a big stone stick stained with blood. Warm blood spray. Lu Shaoan is feeling a bit physically uncomfortable. This game is too realistic, and every NPC looks like a living person. Turn around and walk towards the room mentioned by the bandit. Ah! Just as I approached, I heard a scream. Quickly stepping forward and pushing the door, he saw a scene that shocked him. A young girl with only a belly bag covering her body was curled up on the ground with a jade hairpin. Across from her stood a middle-aged mountain bandit with a pale face and bulging veins on her forehead, covering her lower steps. The lower body of the bandit was muddy, and blood dripped down his pants, causing him to scream in pain. The voice just now was not from Wenji, but from this bandit, and the reason is. Looking at the blood-stained jade hairpin in Wenji's hand, I suddenly understood everything. This mountain bandit wanted to invade Wenji, but unexpectedly was hit by Wenji's hairpin. Now his dirty things can no longer do evil. Feeling empathy, he covered his little brother and couldn't help but exclaim, "Hiss, it's too cruel." The second leader of the bandits breathed a sigh of relief and took out a dagger to walk towards Wenji in a fierce manner. "Stinky women, I can't spare you," he said. Wenji has not yet walked out of her previous panic, and it was because she was frightened that she did such a thing. After all, a lady from a wealthy family who lives in a brothel and doesn't leave home, how could she have witnessed such a scene? Her eyes narrowed helplessly in the corner of the wall, and her tightly held jade hairpin fell to the ground in panic, breaking into two pieces. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't come over." Now, she has completely become a little white rabbit that can be slaughtered by others, without any attacking ability. Seeing the second-in-command's dagger about to pierce Wenji's full and tender chest. A wooden stick covered in blood lay horizontally in front of him. Lu Shaoan waved his wooden stick and smashed it fiercely at his forehead. The second in charge covered his head, blood seeping out from his fingers. He curled up on the ground, covering his lower body. He wanted to retaliate against Lu Shaoan, but the sharp pain in his crotch made him unable to hold back his strength. He gritted his teeth and roared, "Who are you? How dare you trespass on my Jiulong stronghold? Don't you want to live anymore? Passerby, stop talking nonsense and lie down obediently for me to touch the corpse." Lu Shaoan raised his wooden stick high and fiercely smashed it into the lower body of the second leader one after another, until it was so bloody that there was no further movement from the second leader before finally stopping. The second leader of the bandits is also a true little booze, as he did not wear armor and suffered heavy injuries to his lower body. Under his sudden smashing, without even having the skills, he completely retreated. Mountain Thief second leader, qualification B Force 25, physical fitness 22, intelligence 13, overall command 20 talent. Robbery, increases resources obtained from looting by 20% martial arts. Sweeping thousands of troops and causing range damage to the surrounding area. The Mythical Three Kingdoms game is different from other games in that all attributes need to be achieved through combat breakthroughs or by reading books. The better the qualification, the faster the speed of understanding, and the higher the upper limit of growth. A small bandit booze has over 20 attributes, plus an AoE range skill. Ordinary Lord players need to lose at least half of their people in order to deal with them, not to mention that they still have 800 mountain bandits. This is not something that novice players can deal with at all, at least until their territory is promoted to a town. There is hope. He also relied on the dragon and cavalry behind him, as well as the wild boar skin armor he wore, to dare to lead troops over. At the end of the battle, he touched the flesh and blood of the second leader and obtained a martial arts skill book called Sweeping 1,000 Armies, a copper coin, and a book called Sun Tzu's Art of War. The importance of range skill books is self-evident, and Sun Tzu's Art of War is a special item that can enhance attributes. Take a look at Sun Tzu's Art of War for a while. Reminders echoed in my mind. Reading Sun Tzu's Art of War, you have gained new insights. Command +1 Lu Shaoan, Qualification C Force 5, Physical Fitness 4, Intelligence 8, Command 11 Talent. Love soldiers like children, increases soldier attributes by 10%, and increases soldier strategy effects by 10% evolution point. 0 Stuff the loot into the backpack, look up at his evolution point mission, Kai Wenji. Have you put on your clothes yet? Kai Wenji nodded. Her clothes were neatly dressed, and she wore a light green long dress without any distinctive features, but it looked very clean and elegant on her body. Like a lotus blooming alone in the mud, with a delicate little face as pale as paper, it was obvious that it had not yet emerged from the panic just now. She placed her left hand on her right hand on the left side of her body and crouched down slightly. Chen Lugua, Kai Yen, Kai Wenji, thanked Duke N for saving her life. I have no way to repay her, I can only make a promise with my own body. Lu Shaoan circled around her a few times, wanting to see if there were any valuable treasures on her body. After all, he could also be considered to have saved her life. The key benefits are worth it. If you can get something extraordinary, it would be great to find the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Let's just make a promise with each other. Do you have anything valuable on you? Kai Wenji shook her head gently. I have nothing to lose, and I had no choice but to seek refuge with relatives in Luoyang. I never expected to encounter bandits. If it weren't for Inong sacrificing his life to save me, I would probably have had to go see my husband who died early due to illness in the game. Kai Wenji is the wife of the 6th seedling Wei Zhongdao. Not long after marrying, Wei Zhongdao passed away. Due to not being able to bear any offspring for the Wei family, he was laid off by the Wei family and prepared to go to Luoyang to seek refuge with his relatives. On the way, he was robbed by the Hu people and began his most wandering life. This can be considered an Easter egg in the game. If anyone has the opportunity to meet and save Kai Wenji, they will exchange her for a commitment. According to official reports, Wei Zhongdao and Kai Wenji have never had sexual intercourse, which means that at this time, although Kai Wenji was a widow, she was also a virgin who had not yet left the cabinet. But Lu Shaoan doesn't think this is a good thing. Because the planning is very cunning, although it gives players the opportunity, the girls in the game can only be seen and cannot be touched. If touched, they will be locked up in a small black room and watch an hour-long patriotic education movie. If they really get married, they may have to shut down the dark room 24 hours a day without interruption, and occasionally watch educational films, but doing so every day will drive him crazy. After completing the task, hurry up and send her away. I secretly made a decision in my heart. Pull her onto the back of the red dragon. Sit still, we're going to set off. What is this? Kai Wenji was surprised and covered her little mouth. Before she was ready, she was carried into the air by the giant dragon, and her little hand nervously grabbed his back. Gradually, she was attracted by the beautiful scenery in the clouds. Chapter 8. Hujia 18 Pi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, blue waves and blue sky, floating clouds like the sea, the sunlight shining on the clouds emitting dazzling golden light. Occasionally, swans skim over the clouds, spreading their snow-white wings and dancing gracefully among them. She was not so afraid anymore, and her eyes unconsciously shifted from the scenery to Lu Shaoan's sharp and angular profile, attracting his gaze. What kind of person is he? Lu Shaoan also felt the gaze behind him, but he had no ulterior motives. A game NPC also wants to make fun of me, there's no way. Fly out of the range of Jiulong Fortress and receive 10 evolution points. Mei Zizi took Kai Wenji back to the gate of the mountain fortress, preparing to welcome his second dragon cavalry. Although he planned to see off Kai Wenji, the most important thing at the moment was still the dragon cavalry. If Li Erzwang were killed by the bandits, he would have come for nothing this time and picked up a drag bottle. On the battlefield, Li Erzwang was exhausted from the battle. He was dressed in silver armor and relied on his own armor and dragon scales to charge back and forth among the mountain bandits fearlessly. After several rounds of confrontation, the leader of the bandits, Wang Ren, could not break through the scales and armor on Li Erzwang's body no matter what kind of attack he made. This kind of defense cannot be broken without heavy weapons. The bandits were filled with fear and only dared to surround him, but dared not attack. He roared angrily, "Kill Li Erzwang and reward him with 1,000 coins." Upon hearing such a reward, the mountain bandits gained great morale and launched another attack on Li Erzwang. "Li Erzwang, you are quite fierce. Unfortunately, your good friend has died. His name is Ah Man, isn't he? He died really tragically. I'm going to kill you." Li Erzwang roared angrily, but what was the use of his anger? Alman was dead, and he was also exhausted by the bandits. It was only a matter of time before he was caught with his hands tied up. Wei Zigu chopped down a mountain bandit with a single sword, but countless bandits quickly surged back. More than 800 bandits said more or less, and it was unlikely that they wanted to save their living power and kill the enemy. He killed Li Erzwang and said, "This is not a solution. We must find a place that is easy to defend but difficult to attack, or capture the king first and kill the mountain bandit leader first. You lead them to retreat, I'll hold them back, and I'll definitely kill the thief King Ren to avenge Amon." Li Erzwang also wanted to kill Wang Ren, but Wang Ren was too slippery and didn't fight him at all. His stamina was gradually depleted, and it was not realistic to defeat these 800 mountain bandits. The only thing we can do is to preserve the living force and make the remaining militia retreat. The leader of the mountain bandits, Wang Ren, tacitly allowed them to leave. Li Erzwang was too fierce, and the number of remaining mountain bandits was already small. It was quite good to keep Li Erzwang. Li Erzwang was like a god of killing at this moment, waving a shot to end a mountain bandit and using his last bit of strength to kill the enemy desperately. "Either I'll kill you all, or you'll kill me. Come on, fight to the death." Wang Ren also occasionally rushed up to exhaust his stamina. As soon as Li Erzwang wanted to pursue, he was overwhelmed by a massive number of mountain bandits. He once again let out a piercing mockery, "Give it all to me. He doesn't have much energy left, as long as he perseveres, he will win." Li Erzwang killed more than 10 mountain bandits, and his stamina was completely exhausted. He couldn't even hold his long gun steady and stood in place swaying back and forth. He coldly scanned the entire scene, and not a single one of the remaining over 100 mountain bandits dared to step forward and stop him. He turned back and was about to leave. Wang Ren lowered his eyes and drank softly, skill challenge method. At the moment when the voice shouted out, Li Erzwang, who was about to retreat, suddenly looked up at Wang Ren, his eyes filled with anger, and once again burst out, "I want to kill you." But his physical strength was no longer sufficient to sustain such intense movements. Just as he approached Wang Ren, he collapsed with a loud bang and his spear fell to the side. Wang Ren took advantage of the situation and jumped up with his sword. At this moment, he didn't want to ask for a way to control the dragon anymore. He just wanted to kill the fierce man as soon as possible. He swung his long sword and aimed it at Li Erzwang's head, then swung it hard and said, "Go die." Although Li Erzwang was dressed in scales and armor, his head was the only unprotected area, without even dragon scales. Despite undergoing the transformation of the divine dragon bloodline, the effect was not ideal and it was impossible to withstand this blow. Lu Shaoan has also arrived at the scene, and the dragon is galloping down, but its speed is not as fast as Wang Ren's. He immediately used the evolution point. On the other side, Wei Zigu and his companions, who had just escaped from the battlefield, felt itching all over their bodies. Their bodies suddenly pulled up, and red dragon scales grew out, with red giant dragons added to their crotch. Only the remaining 5 militiamen in Wei Zigu evolved into dragon cavalry. This must be a gift from the Lord, give it all to me. The giant dragon soared towards the battlefield. They are not far from the battlefield, and although they have successfully evolved into dragon cavalry, they are unable to arrive at the battlefield in time. As his capable generals were about to fall, Lu Shaoan roared, "Stop it for me." Li Erzwang was not only his first dragon cavalry soldier, but also the first subordinate he knew. He had a simple and honest personality, and was loyal. He couldn't bear to see such a subordinate die in battle due to some small mountain bandits. Wang Ren saw the giant dragon descending from the sky and gritted his teeth tightly. "Is this the dragon? Unfortunately, you came late. Li Erzwang must die today." The long sword fell, but as it approached Li Erzwang's scalp, it could not fall. Dong! A crisp voice echoed through the entire battlefield. Heaven and earth remained silent, and the movements of the bandits paused for a moment, followed by a strong expression of fear on their faces. Zhaoshuyuan.com, this is the 18 beats of Hujiao. The mountain bandits fled in chaos, but their speed was as slow as a snail, dropping by 90%. They could cross the distance they usually could with just one step, but now they can't cross it. Immediately after, the sound of the piano changed. The fast-paced sound of killing suddenly became slow, like flowing water on high mountains, refreshing the heart. You have been affected by the 18 beats of Hujia, your stamina has been fully restored, all attributes have been increased by 20, and your speed has been increased by 20%. You are influenced by extraordinary power, with a 50% increase in attack power and a 50% chance to dodge regular attacks. Lu Shaoan stared blankly at Kai Wenji beside her. She sat sideways on Fei Long's body, and the slender and boneless scallion white jade fingered her to play the guzheng lightly. The sound was clearly emanating from the guzheng she was holding in her arms. This is extraordinary power. Chu Chu Kuoren Kai Wenji was able to play such a significant role on the battlefield. Not only can it stop the enemy's actions, but it can also bring such terrifying bonuses, truly deserving of being a professional auxiliary nanny, truly extraordinary. He felt his body full of strength, and a punch could kill a cow. Jumping off the flying dragon, he picked up his wooden stick and charged towards the bandits. With a single blow, he could directly smash their heads. Dan the second in command, who let him release this woman. Wang Ren's face changed drastically and he wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape. With the blessing of Kai Wenji, more than 100 ordinary guards can fight them fiercely, not to mention Lu Shaoan and the others who have a giant dragon. Escape. His thought had just risen when a pair of angry eyes suddenly appeared behind him. You guys have been addicted to it, now it's my turn. Chapter 9. Realistic Synchronization. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Li Erzwang, who regained his full strength, shot his spear like a rainstorm. The spear hit the key point. Wang Ren was hard to parry and dodged repeatedly. The house was leaking, the wind was blowing and the night was raining. The flying dragons in the air also joined the battlefield, and the mountain bandits were spewing flames without any temper. Following closely behind, Wei Zigu and his companions also entered the battlefield, with a silver spear coming from the air. A dive stabbed a dozen mountain bandits to death. The mountain bandits were provoked by a long gun like tomatoes on sticks, taken to the air and thrown down. The corpses rained down like rain, splashing with blood, further enhancing the terrifying scene on the battlefield. Some mountain bandits tried to struggle, but were beaten to pieces by successive militia. At this moment, the militia was filled with anger. Seeing the opportunity to hit the water dog in pain, they rode a giant dragon and followed Wei Zigu's lead, diving away. But the bandits' machetes struck the dragon like scraping, and their hard-fought attack only saw 3 despairing characters, missing. Run quickly. The bandits were ruthlessly harvested, and soon only the bandit leader Wang Ren was left. Wang Ren lay limp on the ground, panting heavily. Stop fighting, I surrender. I can give you all my wealth. As long as you release me, I will give you everything. These mountain bandits have been dominating the Black Mountain for many years, snatching away many treasures. Now on the brink of death, they can no longer care about so much and begin to sacrifice treasures for survival. Li Erzwang stopped the long spear that was about to be stabbed and looked at Lu Shaoan with keen eyes. It can be seen that he was very unwilling to let Wang Ren go and wanted to avenge Qin Aman, but out of admiration for Lu Shaoan, he was willing to let him out and wait for his disposal. Lu Shaoan did not want the wealth of bandits, but he needed the unwavering loyalty of his soldiers, and the dragon cavalry was his greatest asset. Although one can go back on their word after agreeing to his request, this is ancient times and paper cannot contain fire. Once it spreads, it will have an impact on his reputation. And this is a booze, with a very high probability of releasing rare items after killing. Bandit leader Wang Ren, qualification A Force 25, Physical Fitness 25, Intelligence 18, Command 30 Talent. Lead by example, increase the morale of the bandits under your command by 20% skill. Stimulation technique, which enrages the opponent's generals and has a duration affected by intelligence. Approaching Wang Ren, he respectfully lay on the ground. He had been beaten to the point where he had no temper and could only hope for Lu Shaoan's kindness. However, a blood-stained wooden stick greeted him, "Your death is more valuable to me." Wang Ren's eyes drooped, and a murderous aura boiled in his eyes. He had been a bandit for many years, but how could he rely on others for his life? The bowing of his head just now was entirely to attract Lu Shaoan's arrival. Now that his goal has been achieved, he no longer disguises himself and swung a heavy knife to strike horizontally. "Little doll, you have been deceived." His most important purpose, of course, was not to kill Lu Shaoan, but to capture him in exchange for a way out. Therefore, his weapon was aimed at, and with a heavy knife, the wooden stick exploded in an instant. The heavy sword does not diminish its power, and the second leader of the mountain bandit with a force value of 25 is capable of killing Lu Shaoan with only 4 physical fitness in one strike. Lu Shaoan was caught off guard and was struck in the chest by this knife. The sturdy wild boar skin armor made a huge cut, leaving a 10-centimeter long scar on his chest. The body was thrown out by a huge impact and fell to the ground unconscious. "My lord!" Li Erzwang and his companions were shocked and rushed towards him one after another. Wang Ren did not expect this blow to have such great power. He overestimated Lu Shaoan's physique and underestimated his own strength. "I didn't expect the wild boar armor on his body to be so hard." He was about to come forward and hold it, but 2 long spears pierced through his chest. The body was torn apart by a long spear, and under the anger of Li Erzwang and Wei Zigu, it split into pieces. A few days later, Lu Shaoan, who had fallen into a coma, finally regained consciousness. As soon as he opened his eyes, a suffocating pain came from his chest again. "Hush!" He struggled to sit up, and all he could see was the familiar rental room, with no difference in its furnishings compared to when he entered the game. Taking off the game helmet and drinking a glass of cold water, my mind finally became clearer. Due to carelessness, he was knocked unconscious by the mountain bandits. This is reality, he has returned. But why is my chest so painful? Opening the lining and looking towards his chest, there were no wounds on it, but when he lightly touched it with his hand, he felt another tearing pain. With a grim face, open the game forum and search for other people who have encountered similar situations. A post posted by Xiaoxing, the official game V ranked first. The Mythical Three Kingdoms game is not as simple as other holographic games. The damage received in the game will be fed back to the real body. If the game character dies, the real body will also become a vegetative. Of course, this is just a speculation, and the official has not confirmed that it is related to the game at this time. However, there have been hundreds of vegetative incidents across the country recently, most of which were due to the death of game characters, causing players to fall into a coma. Although there are still signs of life in the body, it is still unable to regain consciousness. Even if it is not due to the game, there is still some connection. Xiaoxing, I advise players to take good care of their bodies and not die when playing games. The players were boiling and went to complain under the official platform. We won't play this game anymore. Please find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com for a refund. We are here to play games, not to be played by games. Junk game, it's too difficult to play. NPCs have higher intelligence than players. As soon as I left the village, I was stabbed by my own villager. He said he was yellow scarf and crazy. But the official response to this is quite plain, the game has been AI hosted and we do not have any backend control commands. We have already reminded you of this when you enter the game. Because it is a second world, it may cause irreversible damage to the real body. Only players who agree can enter the game, even if these things are caused by the game, they have nothing to do with us after speaking. Directly block everyone's comments under the official account. Subsequently, Bai Xiaoxing's post was also banned. Although the players were very dissatisfied and frantically posted on the forum, they were immediately taken down and banned for 30 days. The second time they were permanently banned. Lu Xiaoan took a deep breath, realizing that this damn game was synchronized with his real body. If that were the case, his previous actions could truly be called a suicide. A person rushed into the bandits' den, holding a wooden stick and fighting against the others, with only 4 points of physical fitness. Isn't this seeking death? Fortunately, I only suffered a minor injury, otherwise I wouldn't have made any money and lost my life. Looking at the profile picture of Lu Xiaoyu in his address book, he silently pressed the dial button. The person answering the phone is a nurse. Are you a family member of Lu Xiaoyu? Lu Xiaoyu is undergoing a preoperative examination and cannot answer the phone at the moment. By the way, the surgery cost 500,000 yuan. Are you ready? The day after tomorrow is the surgery time. If you have time, please come and see Xiaoyu. She misses you very much. Chapter 10. Returning to the game. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.